Hello and welcome to another episode of me painting again. Oh yeah, we're painting again, and this time I'm having a go at painting. This is amazing. I'm actually painting that wooden dummy that you get. I bet every artist that's watching this knows about this wooden dummy and probably has been given one. And if you haven't been given one, now's the time to get out there and buy yourself one of these because I'm going to show you how you can use it and make it more exciting than just what it is. So I'm just sketching the shape of the wooden character using a very thin paint. So I'm using water mixable oils, so you can thin it with a little bit of water. But if you're using traditional oils, you could thin your paint to do your sketch with a bit of paint thinner or something. Just make sure if you are using paint thinners and mediums that you're using them in a well ventilated area. But another idea for you is you could use acrylics and do a very thin sort of watercolor, which is what I'm basically doing, just with a little bit of oil. Work fine with acrylics as well, or even tempera. You don't need to use thinned oil paint. You don't need to have paint thinners, and it's something I'm personally avoiding as much as I possibly can. And if I do use a paint thinner or something to clean my brush, I always do it outside. So I'm trying to get the size right. I use a proportional divider, also known as a scaling tool. I got it's a Bowen one. I just got off eBay. Wasn't very much, and it's quite a big one, so I was quite happy with that. Sometimes I think the points need to be a bit more specific, but then again, I'm just using it to make my drawing a little bit better scale-wise, so I don't know. You can get quite strict about it to the point where it probably doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, the flaws in your painting makes it better than a photograph, in my opinion. If you do a painting and it has flaws, which mine always will, because I'm not a painter that likes to paint the same painting for a long time either, so I like to get mine done and then move on to the next one. So I'm just using the lines just to mark out the angles. That's what I'm looking at, the basic angles, and I'm trying to use some of my drawing experience. And I have to say, I'm not the best drawer. I'm not the best craftsman. I'm always trying to improve that. And to be honest, I'm not the best painter either, so. But it's fun, so that's all that matters to me. I've come to a point where I don't really care how good other people are. It doesn't really matter to me because it means their journey in art's probably lasted longer than mine, or they've got natural talent and they're quick learners, where I'm more of a slow learner and I don't have any natural talent. So if you're watching this and thinking, oh, I've got no talent, I'll never be able to paint something like this, let me tell you, I don't have any talent either, so you could paint something like this quite easily. A bit of practice, a bit of dedicated time, you could be up and running and painting away. So, objects. What's going through your mind when you're trying to draw an object? Well, I'm trying to feel, say feel, it's kind of the right word. I'm trying to imagine the whole object on the canvas and the three dimensions of the object. So in your head, you're imagining the whole Dr. Pepper can, and you're placing it on your canvas. Don't imagine it as a two-dimensional thing, because that makes it, well, for me anyway, that doesn't work for me. I need to imagine that it's three-dimensional on the canvas, even though, you know, you are painting two-dimensionally. Whenever I say dimensional, two dimensions or anything, I always think of Back to the Future. You're not thinking fourth dimensionally, Marty! Oh, what a great movie. So there's the metal bit that sticks in the poor wooden dummy's arse. And I've actually pulled one off those metal strips before. So I decided something's wrong with my measuring, and I'm trying to eyeball it a bit and measure it a bit, and then I get right in there with this. That's the proportional divider I was talking about. And I go right up to the object and use it and see if I got the size right. And I didn't. I mean, it was too big, but I have to say, just to make it a bit better later on, I do make it a little bit bigger, just to help my painting. See, you need to be flexible when you paint, so you can cover up your mistakes. I've gone up to it again. I felt like the can was too big. I was like, there's something wrong with that can. And the head. Oh yeah, the head I thought was too big as well. I wasn't far off, to be honest. You see what I mean? It's so easy to start getting nitpicky about your work, and you start thinking, oh, I need to go measure, I need to go measure, I need to go measure. When I've done really enough measuring and I should have just got painting. But after my previous painting that I did, which I did film, and I will make a video, but I really struggled, and it's quite a long episode, which is why I haven't done the audio for it yet. I will. But I really struggled with that one, and I didn't measure it as much as I did this, and I thought I'll do a full drawing with a thin paint first this time, so I don't get myself in that kind of a troublesome error in a position where I'm fighting to get it back, to get the painting back. And I'm really happy with what I did, and it was worth the effort that I put in yesterday. But this time I'm playing a cautious game. And I just want to get in there and tell myself, you know, throw caution to the wind. Just get painting. It's good enough. Start using the brush. But then I just carry on fiddling around, looking at the object, looking at mine, looking at the object, looking at mine, telling myself, something that's not right, something's not right. And then also, when you look at what you're painting, always try and make sure you're looking at it at the same angle each time, because I was looking at it using my right eye, and then another time I'd use my whole head, and I'm moving to a slightly different angle. So I decided to sit further back on the chair, and then I could see the whole image that I was copying. Gotta say, I've never used this wooden dummy before. I think I might have used one once. That's the sketch part over. And so I'm mixing some paint. I'm mixing the dark, and there's no problem with going right up to what you're painting and mixing your colour right at it. That was me saying, oh, that's pretty close. See, I was squinting my eyes looking at it, and I just couldn't quite get the colour. There's a bit of reflected light around the kitchen as well, which doesn't help, but, you know, we haven't all got a studio, have we? Some of us just paint in a kitchen or in a living room or whatever, or we're in the garage, or in an old shed, wherever we can. And we got to do that. Sometimes it's better than the studio. I'm finding the kitchen to have the best lighting, so I get myself in there. So I'm squinting my eyes right down like that, looking through the little slits in my eyes, almost seeing my eyelashes. I'm just looking for those dark areas, and this time I thought I'll try and find those darks first. You can see the dummy there posed nicely. Like I said, if you've got one of these, get him posed, get him doing something. The thing with these wooden dummies, they're a bit boring when you get them and they're just like, as they are, just stood there looking boring. and I thought to myself, you know what, I reckon if I put a bit of blue tack under the base of it and then have it holding the can of Dr. Pepper, it'd look interesting. So now we have a video of him holding the Dr. Pepper. Now, I have to say, all the way through this, I was a bit worried. I was a bit worried that things could go wrong, as in this could take me more than one sitting to get something. That's the thing about oil painting. You don't have to do it all in one go. Don't feel like you have to rush your painting. The only reason I'm trying to get these done speedily, anyway, is I want to make a video. But I'm also working on a painting of a motorbike for somebody, and you know, it's taken me ages. I've had to do bit by bit, and it's taken me absolutely ages. And I kind of wish that I painted the way I paint this, but I've painted it more realistically, so it has taken me a long time to get to a point that I'm happy, and now I'm sort of refining it. So use your arm when you're looking at the angles. Really use your whole arm right from your shoulder to get that feel of the angles of the item. Something I'm working on in my own head is I feel I need to add more colour in my paintings that's not there. And I think that's going to be my next trial. Start painting with colours that you don't see. So try and get the feel of them joints and the structure of the legs, try and get the angles. It's not easy to do, and that's why these wooden figures were created, because people are really difficult to paint and sketch, and getting the angles right is difficult. So I've got this arm here, and you can only see a little bit of it. So make sure it was quite dark. So that was quite darkish. And get the hand in there. It's good that it's just a block instead of fingers, because fingers are quite hard to draw. They never fingers never go in the angles when they're bent or anything the way that I think they should. I always think hands should be like machine hands, and they should open and close exactly the way that my mind thinks they should, but they don't. I'll do a painting of a hand. I'll have to take a photo or something and show you what I mean. So doing things like these still lifes, these are really going to help you with your painting. And people pay, and I've paid, to go to do life drawing, and it costs, quite a bit of money. You've got to pay to get there, pay for your parking, pay for the actual lesson, or what I went to was more. It was sort of a lesson in a sense that the instructor would give you a little bit of guidance, but not much guidance really. Sort of semi-instructed, useful though. But yeah, it costs money, doesn't it? And where this, you can set up yourself. You can set things up and just paint away, and you're getting you can create a mini studio, and you can get these various different figures to pose and mess around with, and you can get multiple ones as well. So you could have 2 wooden figures, and you can put them in various poses and things, and you can get all kinds of other figures out there. But you want bigger ones, because the bigger ones you can see better. These smaller ones, and I've got a smaller one. Can't remember where I put it now. They're quite good. They're quite flimsy, the plastic ones. I don't know why I got it. I had big ideas when I bought it. Oops. So I'm just trying to get the lettering in, the Dr. Pepper lettering, the pepper. I decided I would paint around the lettering a little bit, just so I've not got to put tons of white on to get those letters. If you've seen my video where I was painting Coca-Cola, I did it differently. I scrubbed in the red and then put the white on top. And for this, I just thought, because the lettering's quite big, I could do this. So I'm going for a reddish colour. From where I'm sat, it looks kind of maroony, quite dark red. So I thought I'll block it in sort of a reddy, bluey colour, and then I can start adding a few lighter tones on top of that. But what I do is I scrub it on thinly, so my lighter tones that I put on top will go on okay, because there's not much paint on there. We're really just staining that canvas. I went into a little bit more red at that point, just to lighten it a bit. Always sit back, always have a look. I need to design another t-shirt. I'll do a cartoon version of me sitting back having a look. If you can think of any other phrases that you like, that maybe you would be interested in on a t-shirt, let me know. Because I need to think of ways to help fund the show, help fund me doing these, basically. That's my goal. That's my goal anyway. I'm enjoying myself. Got some time off work, so I thought I might as well use it productively. Just quickly painted in that pole. And then looking at the top of the can, there's a little bit of a silver glimmer that I can see from where I'm sat. In some of the white, mixing it on, a bit red, a bit blue, so you're getting a light lavendery colour. So what you want to try and do is hold back your lightest lights, hold back your whites, because you'll find, I'm just checking my colour there, something I was told ages ago, when you're mixing your colours, if you're mixing something and you're struggling, just go right up to the item that you're mixing and just put your brush right next to it. And try and think when you're mixing, have you got the tone right? I find that the most important for me personally. I always think tone. So I'm just blocking this in. So what you're trying to do here is just to fill in that background. Just filling it in, spreading the paint out. Don't worry if you mess some of your painting that you've already done up, because you can fix that afterwards. You want your painting to have a cleanness at the end of it, so it's good to make this little bit of effort. Remember to sit back, have a look. Always sitting back, having a look, moving my spirit level. Good little tool to have, a spirit level, to go onto your easel to make sure that your canvas is level. Blocking this in. Because I'm using a round brush, the lighter I press, the thinner the mark it makes, and the heavier I press, the bigger the mark makes. It's quite a worn out brush actually. But it works for now. Whenever my right arm starts to ache a bit, mainly my shoulder, I switch to my left. Give myself a few minutes to recover. A few seconds. Like I said, don't feel like you need to rush these paintings. Take your time. You can block this in at your leisure. Use a bigger brush. Use a 1-inch brush or even a 2-inch brush. Block it in. Just sitting back having a look. Grabbing a bit of brown, a bit of blue, ultramarine blue. It's burnt umber, ultramarine blue. I'm thinking, I've got this sort of rugby looking thing. It's actually a hairy piece of material that I bought. I can't remember why I bought it. I think it was to make a costume. Well, I'm using that as a backdrop sometimes, and you can see it behind the piece of white cotton. And I thought, well, might as well just paint it in there. I was umming and ahhing about the background and what colour I wanted, because I don't want it to be what it is, because that would prevent my character from standing out, and I want him to stand out. So I'll play a little bit and just make a dull colour for the background. But I was messing around and I just thought I might as well put a few of these just to add a bit of interest in the background. But you do whatever you want to do. You could do that or you could change it. That's the good thing about painting. You can change things as you go. If you was using a camera, you've got to do a little bit more to get the effect that you want. I'm not sure why I say that, because photography is nothing like painting, is it? It's almost like I feel I need to make an excuse while I am painting or something, or why there's a difference, or why my painting won't look like a photo. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. If you want to get rid of a critic, just say, "Ah, it's a painting. It's not a photograph, it's a painting." And I wanted it to look that way. Then you could say what I said earlier about flaws. The flaws in my painting makes it look good, makes it look natural, unlike a photograph which looks contrived. Or maybe just stay quiet. It's funny when you get critiques, though, when you get horrible criticism, and you've just got to brush it off. I think an artist that's been painting a while will never criticize another artist, and the reason is they know how hard it is. They know how hard it is to do a painting, and to criticize someone's work is, well, there's no point, is there? To critique it, to give them guidance, well, that's something different. Tell you something, it's good fun doing this bit. Take out all your stresses and all the problems that you've got. Take it out on this bit of scrubbing. That's what I do. Think about the bills that you've had to pay. Your car's falling to bits. You want to do more paintings, but you haven't got enough time. This is the time to take it out on the canvas. Actually, when I'm doing this bit, my mind kind of goes blank in a way. I'm just so focused on the painting. I'm so there doing the painting that nothing else matters. So if you notice something that I've been doing, I've darkened the background one side where the light of the head is, and I've lightened the other side where the dark of the head is. Aren't I clever? So it's a good way to show the shape, show the silhouette of the character by doing that. And that's a really old trick. If you go into the museums and look at portraits, you'll see that used a lot. Just scrub in the paint. Getting those dark areas on that part. As I watch this, I can see slight errors. It's good to have that ability in it to see the problems, but I always think the next painting I'll do a bit better. The next one I'll do better. I'm not going to worry about the one that I've just done. Because the next one I do, it's going to be better. But I do have a sense of pride of my work that I'm putting out at the moment, that I'm painting. I'm really happy with the progress I'm making. But like any artist, there's I think I made myself a drink and came back. And any artist, I was saying, they want to push on and improve, and I certainly want to push on, as Van Gogh would say. I want to push on and get further, get beyond the level that I'm at now and take things further. So I'm making my light, some yellow ochre in there, burnt sienna in there. I'm still using my dirty brush, I've not washed it. I've just wiped it on a paper towel and just carried on. Clean it with a little bit of white. So I'm just looking at these lights now. I'm trying to be conservative with my brush strokes as well. You've heard people say, or if you haven't heard people say, some people say, oh, you've overworked that painting. And what I'm trying to do is keep my paintings look fresh, because that's something I was told, that my paintings look overworked, like I piddled and fiddled around with them until you've lost it. And I do find that funny. So I'm just aiming for the kind of got a middle tone really, because it's mixing a bit with that dark that I put on, so it drops my light tone down to a mid tone, but that's alright. So some of the underpaint, the burnt sienna mixed with white, does actually show through on the finished painting, and it does look quite good like that, so I didn't paint over it. So I have to confess that I was really looking forward to this part of the painting. Because at this bit, I am almost home dry, and also it's fun putting in lighter bits. The darks, they're alright, but the lights, oh yeah. This is where the dream is, because this is where things start coming together as you start putting this in. Now I'm scrubbing that a bit because I know I want to lighten it a shade. As I've said before, I scrub the paint on so it's quite thin, so when you put your light on there's not much paint left. I noticed the arm was higher. So these minor changes you can do now. Some changes, well, you just have to let it go. It's not perfect, it's not perfect. Just want to do the painting. This is painting for fun, for enjoyment. So you don't have to worry as much as if it was for somebody. If he was painting someone's dog or something. Where you have to be a bit more strict with what you're doing. Sometimes I think I get too strict when I'm doing something for someone else. And I'm trying to pull back on that. Just wipe my brush on a paper towel. Wipe the dull colour off. Then go into my nice light. Throw a bit more of the white in there. Checking it. So what I felt at this point is my colours were a little bit dull. And I like it dull because then I can brighten it. But I was feeling like my middle tone and my highlight is not quite right. It just wasn't quite strong enough for me. It was just a bit greyed. So I put too much paint on there. I loaded my brush and lobbed loads of paint on, and it was a bit too much. So I was still thinking in my head, it's not right. My colours, even though my colour might have been pretty close to what I'm seeing, just didn't feel right. It felt a bit weak. And I think what happens is the white makes your colours colder. Right? So what I wanted to do was add a bit more warmth into my highlight, a bit more sunlight. So I put more yellow ochre in, a bit more burnt sienna in. Now what's burnt sienna really? Well, it's an orange. So orange and yellow, sunlight. So now I've got a bit more colour, and I thought, now that's nicer, so I'll put a bit more of that in other areas. It really did make a difference. I'm not sure if it does show up on camera, but in my eyes, it made a massive difference. Just trying to pick out those lights. sitting back, having a look at my painting, having a look at the character holding the Dr. Pepper, seeing what I can do. Got some more of that warm colour. Got some more of that, almost charging the colour really, a bit like a watercolourist would charge their colour a bit more. I'm kind of using that thought. See, sometimes I think more colour is needed in my paintings. And that's what I was thinking. And that's what I keep thinking as well. Looking at the light, the way the light hits that wooden base. Trying to not blend in that much in this painting. I tend to just put the colours down and sometimes blend them a little. I don't really blend that much, to be honest. I remember when I first started painting with oils, I was amazed how easy they are to blend. Especially when I came from using acrylic paints, and they don't blend anywhere near as well as oils can. I have to say, when I did use acrylics, when I first started, I was awful. So I know with the right mediums and the right speed, etc., you can do nice blends with acrylics quite easily. I'm just trying to mold this a bit. So another tip for beginner painters is don't be afraid to use your paint. A lot of ways to make your painting better is actually to use more paint. So what I mean by that is using more of the pigment and getting more of the pigment on the canvas and not always painting very thinly. That might be something that only I did, but just in case someone else is out there that's painting and they barely use any paint for everything, start loading your brush a bit more, especially when you're doing your highlights. And you can also do the same with your shadows. There's no rule to say your shadow colours have to be thin. Sometimes like this, I'm darkening them, filling them up with more paint. And this darker, I put a bit of red in it. See, I'm using my artist license to warm up the shadow colour. I'm spending a while trying to make the legs look okay. I think I've probably done the legs maybe a little bit too small, but they're not bad. It's not worth starting again over. What I'm thinking is it needs a bit more light there. Just that little dot. That'll make it a little bit more shiny, that wood. Give the wood a little bit more of a sheen. And here and there, add a little bit more of a glimmer of light. So another thing, you've got to really think about the surface you're painting. Always thinking about that. And use what you see. When you're setting stuff out, like I've done here, I've took the effort to put a wooden guy out there holding a can. I've got to use what I can see there and try and get the information on my canvas. I do enjoy them little light highlight bits. Really makes your character come to life. That base at this point looks awful. I don't remember it looking as bad as that when I was painting it. I'm looking for this brush. I've got this white brush, white handle brush, and it's got a nice chiseled edge to it, and it's just the right size. And I couldn't find it. I was like, where is it gone? It's perfect. I need it. But I couldn't find it. And when I was cleaning up, it was there, behind my easel. Don't know how it ended up there, but I realised that that looked awful. Just cleaning up that leg. It was a bit wide. Needed thinning down a little bit. And then that foot needs a bit more work. So I'm trying to really get the feel of the shapes. That's something else I'm working on. Really get the feel of them shapes. And try and get the feel of them shapes in a few brush strokes. Less is more. That's what I'm telling myself. Something Rembrandt did very, very well is using less brush strokes, less overworking stuff. Like I was saying earlier. You look at some of Rembrandt's paintings, and they've got a few in the National Gallery. Quite lucky to have seen, and I've seen it. I saw one in a stately home as well. But later on, as Rembrandt progressed within his painting, and I mean, he was already amazing. But later on he got even better and better and better. I think anyway. And you could do paintings and do fantastic portraits and use more brushstrokes and less fiddly stuff, but still creating that effect of a hand, and just brilliant. Hard for me to explain because I'm not at that level. But I know what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming to get to that level. So here's a bit of cheating. I noticed the base was the wrong size. Well, the metal pole was not in the middle, so I kind of moved the base a bit. Shh, it's a secret between us. So I have to say, I really enjoyed painting this. It was really good fun to do, and I really felt like it was looking pretty good. Whenever I get to a point where I think, not really sure what to do, I just carry on blocking this in. I threw in a bit more brown just to warm it up. It's quite funny, really. These wooden men. I remember I have to hunt them down, so I'm pretty sure I didn't throw them away. I remember buying quite a few different sized ones. I don't even know why. I've been given some as presents. I've even bought some. I never really used them. I need to find them, and then maybe I can set a load up. That'd be quite good fun, actually. I could have like a group of these characters carrying something. So I'm looking at this can now, the underside of the can. So I'm using a brush that I don't really like, because like I said, I couldn't find the brush that I wanted. So I ended up using this one, and it's rubbish. It's got a really small handle, and I prefer using bigger handles. So any errors of the painting that happen from now using that brush, it's the brush's fault, not mine. It's good to be able to blame something, isn't it? I remember when I first tried to do a mountain using the Bob Ross gear, and I used that knife for the first time, and I was like, oh, that doesn't work. I thought, well, Bob Ross has got a magic knife because mine ain't working. It's funny, isn't it? The tools. Do the tools really make a difference? Well, they do. I think they do. I did go through a phase of thinking they don't, but I do think they do. If you have a nice brush that you like, it feels good, and you don't bodge it up like I did there, then it just makes it better, makes it more fun. But when you use a little brush or a little handle, they just don't work. I still battle on with this little brush. The worst thing about it is the hairs at the end splay out a little bit. What am I doing? I need some more blue. I just put the paint on as I go. When I run out, just put a bit more on. You don't need to shed loads of paint on your palette. You can just add it as you go. Try and get the darks now. Remember, squint your eyes down, look for the tones, and then try and paint them in. Express yourself with your brush strokes. That brush. Oh, that brush. I'm going to throw it away. I won't, you know. I don't throw anything away. I might try and fix it. Good way to reshape a brush is to dip it in some milk and then use a paper towel, wrap around it or flatten it on. You put a weight on it or something to flatten it. Yeah, milk. It works for getting your points back on brushes. Dip your brush in milk and then wrap a paper towel around to a point. Then you take the paper towel off and get your point back. That's actually in this book that I've got, and it's a really old painter's book. And then I heard John Myatt using that technique as well. And John Myatt is a really good painter. Managed to forge a few. Went to prison for it. Naughty boy. Amazing that he was able to con the art world though, using household paints. He wasn't even using oil paints. He was using household emulsion. Well, trade paints, I should say. You still paint that you just paint walls with. He was managing to copy painters, master painters. I do like stories of art forgers for some reason. I just find it really interesting that they're able to. I suppose it's the idea that these people are able to paint, as good as a very collectible artist. And I suppose it makes me think that it's possible for average Joe to get as good as a master, and I think it's true. I think with dedication and practice, it is as good. It is possible to get as good. I'm 100% sure it is. Because at the end of the day, they're just people. getting in pretty close. I'm using my finger to balance my hand. You can use a maul stick. Just trying to get the lettering done. Get the P for pepper. When I finished this painting, I celebrated with a can of Dr. Pepper. Another drink I quite like. I know sugary drinks are bad for you, and I don't recommend drinking them regularly. I think you should use them as a treat, just in case someone tells me off. I just have it for a treat. Did the painting. Woohoo! Have a can and celebrate. So I know that this isn't, the lettering isn't going to be perfect, and there was problems doing it. But I wanted to try and make it look alright. And it's another good thing to practice lettering. It's another skill that you might need. Someone might ask you to do a sign for them or something. And if you're struggling to pay the bills, taking on a quick sign might help you out. You don't necessarily need to put the lettering on though, you can leave it out. You could do, or you could use something else. You could have your character holding a banana. Maybe he would be carrying another wooden character. Maybe you could get two and pull one of them out of the pole, like I've done. It's a smaller one though, the other one that I've got. I quite like this one because it's quite big. Just cleaning things up around there. Sometimes I go for the cleanup areas when I'm struggling with a harder area. So I think to myself, oh, I'll just do a bit of cleaning up for a while, and then I'll come back to that bit. So I noticed there was like a bit of a splash coming out of the Dr. Pepper logo. So I started putting little red bits. Just noticed that needed a bit more white to show that D a bit better. It went a bit darker at the top, so I just put that indication in. And on this one side, just sit back, have a look. Getting little bits of red here and there. Just wherever I can see that splash. I decided it wasn't strong enough, the red I was using, so I've got cadmium red deep on my palette. So I thought I'll use a little bit of cadmium red light, and then that'll probably be a bit closer. And it was a bit more brighter. I can't see it that well from that distance, but I can see little bits of splashes, so I needed to indicate that. That little touch of light. Sometimes that's all it needs. And then I thought, well, I'll start putting in a few of these shapes in. I'm not going to go overboard with this, just have a look at the way the material folds and things, and just start putting it in. You see, what I don't want to do is go too white. Now the actual white cloth is quite white, and where the light's hitting it, it goes very white. So I'm using a bit of my artist license and keeping it dull. Why would I want to do that, you're saying? Well, you probably already know. I'm trying to keep my focus on the character. I'm not focusing on the background. The background is just that. It's the background, and I want to keep it in the background. So I won't bring attention to it by putting very light colours and very bright colours on it. So what your eye should go to is the wooden man holding the Dr. Pepper. Your eye probably goes to the Dr. Pepper and then the wooden man. And that's because the Dr. Pepper can is a reddish colour, and that's the first colour your eye goes to. Red. That's why they use it a lot in sales. So I'm just sitting back, having a look, grabbing some paint and just throwing it on. Very loosely though, very phrase I like, haphazard. I might even be saying that wrong. Now I've got to get some shadow colour in, but I'm keeping things warm, keeping things into a bit of red and brown. Just checking my colour, see if I'm close. Now you have a real dark underneath because there's no light getting to it, and then the shadow wasn't that long really. And that colour works well for these darker areas of the material. And again, remember not to worry about it, just chuck it in. This is just background stuff. This isn't the focus, this is just what goes around it. And I thought, might as well crack on with this dark area at the top. Just scrub that in. Good workout. Could have used a 1-inch brush, but I just carried on with this brush. Remember to darken around that head look, darken around the body a bit as well. Make the character pop out a bit more. Sitting back, having a rest, grab some more paint, throw it in. Of course, if you was painting this yourself, if you got yourself one of these wooden mannequins and you had him carrying something, if you want to, you could do any background that you desire. Whatever table you've got, it's put a tablecloth on or have it bare wood and have a go at this. Time for these wooden mannequins or wooden dummies or whatever they are, artist dummies, to get off those dusty shelves and be used. Get it out of that art box, get it out on the table, get a painting done. These poor art dummies. They've been in this world doing nothing. They've been waiting for their calling, which is now. Now's the time. So I thought I'll throw in a bit of detail-ish on this hairy rug thing. Hairy material. It's quite funny. When I was painting this bit, I don't know why, but I was thinking, imagine if, like, 100 years, this painting somehow ended up in a museum. And they'll be looking at it thinking, what is that thing that goes around it? Why is there a hairy thing there? How strange. Any way I can think it'll end up in a museum as if it ends up in a wooden dummy museum or a Dr. Pepper museum. Can't imagine it in an art museum. They'd have to be pretty desperate to have one of my paintings in an art museum. Hey, you never know though. So I'm just putting in these darker brush strokes. Kind of gives this Dr. Pepper carrier a bit of a stage in a way, with this white and then this. Just a bit of light in there as well. Just to break up the monotony of the same old colour. Again, we don't have to worry too much because it's not. This isn't the star of the show, as I said. Just sitting back, having a look at the whole painting. Finally bring out the 1-inch brush and just blend it a little bit. And there we go, there's the finished painting. I do a few little bits and bobs. But you could go on forever with this painting. You could keep messing around until, like I said, you could piddle it to death. But I was quite happy with that painting, and like I said, the next one, hopefully, I'll do better. And hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you at another one. Cheers, bye.